welcome to The Woman in You. On this program, we showcase the worth of every woman because every woman is wonderfully made, every woman is outstanding, every woman is marvelous, adorable, and nice, and should be treated that way. But unfortunately, lots of our women have lost confidence in themselves, and the most important thing you should put on as a woman is your self-confidence. And that's why we bring you this program, just to motivate you, to inspire you, to make you know that you, of course, is a special person. I've got class, I've got potentials, I have pride. Yes, I am special. Joy Uche is my name, and I welcome you to The Woman in You. My womanhood is my pride. On this program today, we have a royal personality. Yes, a woman we call mother to all. You'll be asking, who is this woman? She is an intellectual. She is an information manager par excellence, who's got so much awards to her name. She's well read, she's well traveled, and I tell you, she is a royal image maker. One that is an able administrator and indeed a crisis manager of the highest order. Ladies and gentlemen, join me, make welcome Her Royal Majesty, Obi Mata Dunku, the Omu of Anioma, Obi Grima.
Daluso.
Thank I'm glad to be here today.
Yes.
Yes, I've been wanting to sit with you and talk and learn from your wealth of experience, you know. On this program, we inspire women out there. And so we are glad to have you today on our program.
Thank you very much.
It's all about the woman in you. So, who is Obi Mata Dunku?
Obi Mata Dunku was born on the 19th day of October 1955. She is Omo Banam, Omo Anioma, and Noha. I'm from Umosume Quarters in Obodoba village of Okpanam in Anioma of Delta State. I went through my primary education in Plateau State before the war. It was the war that truncated that. We came back. I completed here. Went through my secondary education here in Okpanam. We were pioneers of Okbalani, which is Semulumbas. When we attended it, they have reverted back to the old name. After that, I worked in Benin in the Ministry of Finance for a couple of years before I went to England to LTC College of English and Secretarial Studies. I also attended Southwest London College in England before I proceeded to Henderson State University in Arkansas in the United States and University of Nevada in Las Vegas. I came back to Nigeria in 1984 and went into private business. As a media consultant, I was consulting for Monobanedo Ukwa by Radio of Blessed Memory of Benin. I was his media consultant for over a decade and a half. I was media consultant to the late Oroje of Ogbe, briefly for the Asabo of Asaba, Oko of Ihebe. I worked for 7 traditional rulers as their media consultant. I have never married in life, and I used to say it is by choice, but when I became Omu, I now know it's providence that made it so, because it would have been difficult to leave your husband. I have one son who is a lecturer in the university. He's married with 2 children. I was crowned Omu Okpanam in January 2002, crowned Omu Anioma in January 2010, and crowned Noha 19th of October last year. Noha means mother to all. I was crowned at Soka by Igwe Soka as in Noha. And the Enugu State government issued me a certificate in that regard.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Delta State government also issued me certificate as Omu Okpanam and Omu Anioma, respectively. I became the Omu by calling. You do not become the Omu by choice. In fact, in Anioma nation, it's a taboo to want to become the Omu. It is a taboo. It is God Almighty and the ancestors who decide who will become the Omu through consultation of our elders. Okay. In the first place, the institution started about 700 years ago. Our forefathers, according to research by late Professor Onwe from Ibuzo, he founded the anthropology department of the University of Benin. He was a world-renowned anthropologist. So his research showed that the Omu institution started about 700 years ago. Our forefathers in Anioma nation, they were 10,000 years ahead of others. It's only 100 years ago they started women inclusion in the Western world. You could imagine that 700 years ago, our forefathers felt a seat should be kept for a woman. That will show you how women-friendly they were. Our forefathers saw women as complementing the role of men. They didn't see women as competition. So they set up the institution and decided that every community in Anioma, from Asaba to Abo, Iseluku, Bolono, that they should have two institutions. One is for the traditional ruler, who is the father of the community. The Omo is the mother of the community. And they decreed that this woman who is the Omo will have a palace. We have our own chiefs. We have our own palace attendants. At the point of coronation, the Omo is bestowed male rights. Our forefathers felt if this woman is the mother of everybody in the community, her specific duties are to look after women, which is 10% of her work, the markets, which is another 10%, settling quarrels, which is another 10%. The spiritual arm of the Omu is the most important, which is 70%, to continue to pray for the community. And that's the most important duty of the Omu, to be the spiritual guide to the community. For that reason, they decided that this woman who is the Omu cannot be married, just like the Catholics decided that their reverend fathers and sisters will not marry. So our forefathers decided that since she's our spiritual guide, we want the Omu to be in a state of near chastity. So if you are married, you will have to leave your marital home and come back to reign in your father's home. And you are bestowed male rights. You become a man and a woman put together. So you can break the kola knot. That's why the Omu breaks the kola knot. Because our forefathers felt if the mother of the community should have a palace and attendants, should she be looking for a man to come and break kola knot? So they bestowed her male rights. That's why she wears the red cap, she wears the feather, she holds the elephant tusk, making her a man and a woman at the same time, put together. In the past, they almost got their livelihood from the markets, so they were adequately cared for. But in the present, the local governments are in the markets. That's why you have that in Anioma of over 160 towns, only about 12 now have Omo. When I became Omo, I met only 5. And from that era, I think 1 or 2 are remaining. So I started advocacy with others. We are now up to 15, but 3 have joined their ancestors. And we're about 12 now.
In the whole of Anioma?
In the whole of Anioma. And you can trace why it is so. You cannot crown a woman mother and not care for her. So who builds her a palace? She leaves her marital home and comes back to her father's home to reign. So her people are supposed to build her a palace. So who does that? Secondly, who cares for her? How does she feed? So you find that these days, a woman is approached to become the Omu, her children will come and take her away. For the past 22 years, almost, I have done the work of Omu in Obanam. I've not been paid a kobo by anybody. The past 11 years, I have been Omu Anioma. I have been advocating at my own cost. Proceeds I made from my business when I was in business is what has been sustaining the 2 institutions. So it's not far-fetched why women are refusing to become the Omu.
So you can refuse if you are called upon to come and...
You can refuse. There may also be spiritual consequences. Because when God called Saul and asked him to become Paul, did he say no? So if you say no to a calling of God Almighty, there might also be consequences. Yes.
True. But as a young girl growing up, the woman in you as a young girl growing up, you never dreamed, so did you ever dreamt of saying one day, what if I'm I become an Omo?
Outrightly impossible. You cannot dream of it to be caged. That's not something you dream of. Having lived in the Western world and come back and have this calling, it takes providence for you to cut off all the lifestyle you're used to. Because when you become the Omo, you cannot be married, you can't have a relationship, you can't go to burial ceremonies, you can't eat out, you can't drink out, you can't shake hands. There are too many things you cannot do. And that is why when they bestow male rights on the Omo, they expect you to marry wives who will bear you children, so you are not lonely. So as the Omo, you can marry wives who will bear you children. Those children and children you had before the institution have equal rights. When you pass on, your things are shared equally. So you could designate a man for that purpose, or you could allow the women free choice. Any which way, the children are yours. And that's why the Omo has two sets of chiefs. She has the chiefs of the spiritual arm, which are given according to the body of the Omo, the Aka Omo, the Okwu Omo, the leg of the Omo, the Aka Omo, the hand of the Omo, the one who holds things. Mrs. Asoya here is the Okwu Omo. She goes on errands. The lady before you was the granddaughter of the Omo before me. Yes, so then you have the executive arm of the Omo, where you have Iyasomu, Odogwu Omo, all those chieftaincies that the town have. You also have it in the Omo institution.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
Okay. Let's look at you as the woman in you when you were called. How did you see it? How did it all start with you?
When I came back in 1984, I started my business. Not long after that, I started having some challenges which I could not really explain. And it continued over the years. And so when I was informed that it's the will of God and our ancestors for me to become the Omo, of course I said that cannot be true. One, I felt I was too young because in the past you have Omos who are in their 80s and 90s. I actually did not say no, but I had my doubts that I could fit into that role. But eventually, when I accepted, everything that was happening to me disappeared. And so my work as the Omo is a physical manifestation of a spiritual conclusion.
Okay, physical manifestation
of a spiritual conclusion.
What do you mean when you see that?
Yes, because it is the will of God. What is manifesting physically is what has been decided by the higher realm, which is God Almighty. And so I am physically doing what the higher realm wants me to do. And that's why I could translate from the very Western woman to the very traditional woman, which surprises a lot of people, that having lived all over the world, to come back and become a core traditionalist. And of course, being the Omo, I had to go from Christianity to traditional religion. I made up my mind to follow the religion of my ancestors, so I will be able to perform the work well. I didn't want any conflict. Okay. Yes, so and I'm at peace with what I'm doing.
What you're doing.
Of course, you can see it. Can't you see it?
I can see it clearly. I'm taking a tour around. Words are not enough to describe the whole thing, what I'm seeing your works down here, but it's very pleasing to the eyes. Like I saw a signpost out there saying, image is everything, and indeed, image is everything if you come into the Omo's palace here. Madam, so you've been doing so well.
Thank you very much.
I love what you are doing.
Thank
really.
you. So this is my shrine. It's also called Ewo. It is also called Ugilisi, which is the sacred tree. The only woman in Anioma who owns this tree is the Omo.
Yeah.
So every day, when I wake up, I pray to God Almighty. Then I pray in the Zomu shrine, which is the staff office of the Omo. Then I come down here I pray in this water temple. Then I pray in the Ani temple. And I use my bell to go around the whole palace to pray for the people of Obanam, pray for the people of Anioma, pray for all Igbos who crowned me in Noha, pray for all the people of Delta and Nigeria. I do that religiously because the work of the Omu is 70% prayers.
Let's talk about challenges in life so far that you've been to your Omu, or before you even became Omu and you've been Omu. What are those challenges that you've been through in life? How did you kind of, pass through all of them? And this is who you are today, sitting down here, happy, with all smiles, with all the good things around that people can see for themselves when they walk into your palace.
Well, I must commend the Delta Broadcasting Service for this program.
Thank you.
Because that's what they do in the Western world, to interview some people so that younger ones will know you didn't start from up. So I commend you and your establishment.
Thank you.
May your pen not stop writing.
Amen.
May your camera not stop shining.
Amen.
As a child, my parents were poor. I was taken away at the age of 2 to live with an aunt in Plateau State. And we used to hawk. So when I see people outrightly condemning hawking, there is something wrong with that. Hawking on its own is not socially abominable, as long as it's within certain confines. We hawk what our parents were selling because our parents wanted us to go to school. You as a child also have to help your parents to help you or your guardian. And so hawking on its own is not socially abominable. But they made sure we didn't go outside a certain area. It was the war that brought me back to my parents. And I came back to see that my parents were also very poor. My father was a farmer. He had health conditions, so he couldn't even farm. My mother lost his mother when she was born. She was an only child. She didn't even know the mother. And so she was brought up by relations. You can imagine that, to be born by 2 very poor, wretched parents. So I looked at their condition, and outrightly there, I decided that I was going to be a change, positive change. And that's partly why I decided not to marry. Because if I did at that time, I'm the eldest of all the children, so we will remain in poverty. And I felt somebody has to make the sacrifice to lift above poverty. At the time I was growing up, it's abomination to say you don't want to marry. But I knew if I had married, that would have been the end. I would lift above poverty. My younger ones will not go to school. My parents will remain poor. So I made a choice, a decision which was hard, not to marry and not to have children at that time. And I started struggling. Immediately after my secondary education, I went to work in Benin. From there, I went to England and America and came back. And I started business. When I see young people these days say, oh, I don't have capital to start business, I said, okay, you wait till thy kingdom come. You have to start from somewhere. I started following some Yoruba women to go to the border to buy onions and sell. I came to Benin. I saw a tipper loaded with broken bottles. I waved the tipper down and I asked, what are you doing with these broken bottles? And they told me, oh, it's business. And I said, who is the owner? They told me, no, there is no woman in this business. It's a man's business. Okay. And I was determined to break that jinx. I traced the owner, traced him to Guinness. And I got there. The man said, you, this small girl, there is no woman in this business. I said, sir, please, I'm determined to do it. And he took me to the general manager of Guinness. After the general manager spoke to me, he said, what are you doing in broken bottles? I said, America taught me one thing, to pull yourself by your own bootstrap. Don't wait for any environment. Create your own enabling environment. So our people are always waiting for government environments. Government cannot do everything. You have to create your own environment. I was lying on bare floor for almost 3 years of my coming back. I had no friends, even relations, because nobody will like you if you're not doing well anyway. But from selling broken bottles to Ughelli Glass Factory, I will carry them from Benin, take them to Glass Factory Ughelli. They will melt them and turn them into other bottles. From there, I became a big player in broken bottles business. They introduced me to Toyo Glass in Agbara in Ogun State. And they showed me how to remove the dirt from the broken bottles and remove the crown cork and sell them separately. So I will employ a lot of women who were there 24 hours picking. And I didn't have money to rent 911 to carry them. So I will go to the park to meet the union. They will say, we'll put you on oath. I said, if you like, put me on oath. We will kill you if you don't bring us the money. And they will give me 911, 4 or 5 or 6 without any payment. And the day I got to Toyo Glass, the Japanese here, they were looking at me. It's a woman. She jumped down from this 911. Oh, it's a woman. It's a woman. And they were so perplexed. So they went to tell their GM. They ushered me in. He started speaking to me. He said, oh, you look educated. I said, yes, it's not an issue. The issue is for me to be able to feed myself. And the man, as at that time, it took 3 months to clear out of town check, out of state. So they told their bank to make sure that in 1 month, this woman gets her money. He was so thrilled to see a Nigerian lady jump down from 911. So when I see our young people and they're saying that government is not helping them and their parents are not helping them, well, you have to help yourself. When you solve any problem, you make business. There are too many challenges, and those challenges can translate into money. I made money from broken bottles, which helped me to set up my professional leaning. So it doesn't mean that if you're a doctor, you must die waiting for the work of a doctor, or whatever you are. I studied human management, admin management, which is a management of information through people. So it was rough. But it enabled me to become the person I am today. Yes.
Okay. Now, what will you say now? That's looking at your growing up age. Anyway, we're going to talk about the formative years, but you've just given us that story that's so touching. You know, you made something out of broken bottles.
Yes.
And, it's impressive. You
yes.
know? How we wish younger ones can pick from there. But it's so unfortunate to note today that most. Not just the women only. A lot of our younger ones don't want to do dirty jobs. I'll call them dirty jobs in quotes because they just feel, I need to sit in the office and not my tie. But unfortunately, we don't have such jobs so much around anymore. Like you said, the government cannot do it all. But we still know that in our society today, a lot of women are beginning. Then days when you're growing up, you know, like many women, they don't believe women should be in positions or do anything. Always surprised that is a woman doing this. It's like a surprise. But today, we've got so many educated, intelligent, beautiful, you know, knowledgeable women around. But the system does not permit them to, you know, to fit into the system. You know, does it giving them that privilege? What are the best ways you think women can be put in leadership positions, positions of authority these days?
The solution to the challenges women are facing, 1 is education, 2 is education, 3 is education.
Why do you say so?
Because education is the universal key that opens all doors. An educated person is a better human being. An educated woman is a critical thinker. That's why I could go to school in England and America and come back and decide to sell broken bottles without being ashamed. Of course, people were saying, oh my God, did she even go to anywhere? And I did not listen to them. Why? Because I have confidence in my abilities as a woman. God made woman strong. But you know what we're missing in womanhood is also womanhood. Upbringing. Women are not inculcating sound societal values in their children. And that is the cause of most of the ills we're having. And why is that so? Because the nation too is not training the woman. You have to train the trainer. We had civics when we were growing up, where they used to tell us how you can be a better housewife, how the man can be a better husband, how you need to help each other. We learned all that in civics. But they have jettisoned physics and they have jettisoned history. So if you don't know your past, your present is shaky and you can't even determine your future. Education I'm talking about is formal and informal. Okay. Education does not necessarily mean going to tertiary institution. Education of the mind, like Sarah Jibril will say, education of the mind is the mind of education. That is why you can do the work you're doing in DBS. If you were not educated, you won't be doing that. Education gave you self-confidence, to believe in yourself as a woman. Because we're living in a male world. The world is patterned around man. That is the way God created life. He created man and created woman thereafter. And so his intention is for woman to be a companion to a man. And which women are doing anyway. But the greater problem is that man wants to be man and woman at the same time. That is what is causing crisis. If woman does his job and man does his job, the society will move on. However, men have truncated women actualizing their purpose in creation by wanting to be man and woman at the same time. And until that is corrected, the society cannot move. If the woman is not educated, do you know what? The woman is the one who will train your son, who you want to be governor. The woman is the one who will train your daughter, who will be the minister and be a wife. So if the woman doesn't train these people who will be your future is bleak. So you're not doing a favor to women by training them. You are doing favor to yourself in Delta State, you're doing favor to yourself in Nigeria, and in the world at large, if you educate the women, because the nation cannot grow in isolation of women. You can see what is happening worldwide. There is colossal failure of leadership worldwide, not just in Nigeria. But the women are not rising up, not to take the place of men, but to complement their men and help them solve the solution. Because the men are too arrogant to say, come and help us. But they are quietly waiting for women to rise up and come to our aid. But women are not rising up because they don't even know who they are. They don't know the powers God has given to them from creation. From creation, woman has a lot of power. But whether she uses it positively or negatively is a different issue.
Okay, that's true. Now let's look at some women actually want to, build a career, equally want to build a family. Some find it difficult to balance, the career life and the family life. How will you advise them concerning that?
You know one thing I'll tell you, Joy. When, as a woman, you decide to marry, your family comes first, not your career. Because when you finish your achievements and you become the managing director of Shell, and your home is in bits and pieces, you have not achieved anything. You are a colossal failure. When you come back, you are afraid what your children will do. They have become trans. So as a woman, when you decide to marry, because it's a choice, I never married, it's a choice. And if you decide not to marry, like I didn't marry, you are not available to every man because you are married. You must live a decent unmarried life. I have a male son, a male. I brought up by myself. He's rounding up his doctorate degree at the moment. He's married with 2 children. So you cannot say I have failed as a mother. But the ideal place to bring up a child is under the loving comfort of a man and a woman, both providing conducive spiritual and physical environment for the child to grow. But when you do not have that environment, you also have to improvise that environment. So you cannot choose your career above your family, in which case you have to find a middle ground, unless you decide not to marry. And even when you decide not to marry, I could have attained so much in business. I could have made so much money, but I have to look at the balance. If I go out to make all the money and I leave my only child, he's not cared for, no motherly love, no care. I was mother, father, brother, sister. So I also had to cut down my business activities, even as an unmarried mother.
To give him all the attention.
Of course, to be able to fill that role of father and mother and brother and sister and comfort him. Because bringing up a child is not just about feeding and buying clothes. It's about counseling, psychological counseling, religious counseling, spiritual, to become the totality of a human being that will lead the nation. We need children who are balanced, and we need mothers who are balanced to bring them up. So I hear women saying, oh, I'm working. How can I do this and do that? No, you have to sacrifice some part of your work in order to bring up that family, those children that will nurture you when you get old. In our society, we don't send our old people to old people's home. No. It's a taboo. So you have to pay back. Therefore, we have to work for those who will take care of us and those who will take over from us when we leave. And we're happy that we're leaving the world a better place.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Haven't traveled so well and you know, well read and all of that. Let's look at migration issues. Today we see a lot of our young ladies still believing that I need to check out. If I don't go to abroad, I can't make it, you know. And they are ready to go through any means to go to abroad. What's your advice to them? You've been there. You've traveled wide.
Yes, I was there. I do not wish to go back.
Seriously?
Yeah. Since I came back in 1984, I have not traveled. I picked my bag and left. After living in England and living in America, I realized that East or West, home is the best. When you look at the discrimination black people are facing worldwide, when you look at the fact that you are an unwanted immigrant, when you look at the fact that the work you do there is the most of the menial that their own people will not do, you would rather go back to your home. Come to think of it, those who have gone there, it's only a small percentage that have made it in terms of making it you're talking about. The majority are just paying rent, go to school, pay rent, buy a car. Those are things you can also do in Nigeria. So, but the problem is that our government, our society is not building up our people intellectually. They are not bringing up our people. They are not putting value into them to believe in themselves, to stay in their country. When you go to America, you see what is happening. When somebody can kneel on somebody, and the whole world is watching it, and the man puts his 2 hands in his pocket comfortably, and the man dies, and he still behaves as if nothing happened. That is because technology is there. Imagine what was happening all over the years. When you go to Europe, you see what our people are going through Libya and all those. They are harvesting their organs while they are alive. And when they get there, they go into prostitution and other things. That is not the way to make it. So it is for us, our society, to realize that we have so much to do in this country that can make us rich. Whatever rich means in inverted commas. Okay. Yes.
Okay. The woman in you will inspire you here, letting you know that you are worth anything that you dream about.